Welcome everyone to the Reaching Out While Locked In Beef webinar series. We appreciate you guys joining us once again. I see a lot of familiar faces on there tonight, and we do appreciate you guys joining us. We have a special treat tonight. We have really the core of our meat science team here tonight to share with you, and going to bring you a little bit about what's going on from the research side of things, and also going to share with you, hopefully if Dr. Renfro is able to join us before it's all over with, we're going to be able to share a little bit about what's happening with some of the plant clothing. First on the program tonight, we have Dr. Surendranath Suman, and Dr. Suman comes to us from India. He got his bachelor's and master's degree both in India, and then he got his PhD at the University of Connecticut, all in meat sciences, and has been with us now for quite some time. Suman, I think looking at my notes here, in 2006 is when Dr. Suman joined us, and he is currently a full professor in the Department of Animal and Food Sciences. Dr. Suman, I don't think it would be anything of a stretch to say that he is a world-renowned scientist in the meat science field. He's had a host of awards, the top research award within the College of Ag, and he was also just real recently awarded with the International Lectureship Award from the American Meat Animal Sciences Association. And it's a great pleasure, Dr. Suman, to have you on tonight to talk about it. And your topic is going to be post-harvest strategies to improve fresh beef quality. And we appreciate you joining us, and I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Dare, for the nice introduction. And I'm happy to present and share our research with the Kentucky Beef Group. And today I'm going to share what's going on in our program on improving beef quality, primarily from the post-harvest side. So why beef? I'm going to pull a data set from 2003 study by National Cattlemen's Beef Association. So when they did a breakup, $100 bill spent on U.S. grocery shoppers, beef is the king, because we can see that for every $100 spent on grocery at that time, $5.55 went to beef. And that is a top priced item in our grocery cart. And the same trend continues across the world as well as the US. So across the world and in the US, beef industry is one of the largest segment in ag economy. So US contributes to approximately 1/3 of the global beef industry revenue. So the 2020 estimate shows that the retail value of U.S. fresh beef is $107 billion. Across the world, it is $320 billion. So that gives ample room for a food scientist to come in and look at the quality of beef and how we can improve it. So although my 3 degrees are in animal science as well as in veterinary medicine, my interest in beef cattle starts when they are hanging inside the cooler with the no head. So 100% of my focus in research is post-harvest aspect. And we are looking at strategies to improve tenderness as well as color of beef. And we study both applied aspect to improve the color and tenderness, and also the chemistry of proteins through which these changes are happening. This is the basic research. And I would say our third arm is the global network, where we apply the lessons learned from US to other countries. Well, beef color is one of the focus in our program. At the point of sale, that's when we see the beef in a retail counter, everyone wants to go and buy the one steak on the far left. It is a nice red steak looking at us. Now the steaks, when we keep it in a retail cooler, it's going to go slightly brown all the way down to dark brown at the right side. And that's when we get buy one, get two deals. And that results in huge revenue loss. And in year 2000, an estimate found that US beef industry, retail beef industry loses 1 billion every year as a result of the discoloration. Well, at that time, the retail value of US beef industry was 49 billion. Today it is 107. So this 1 billion would have gone high. Now, if I get that 1 billion, what can I do? Probably I can run a land grant university for 6 months. That much money is lost as a result of beef discoloration. On the other hand, tenderness, that gives us the palatability and eating satisfaction at the point of consumption. And this, in fact, affect our ability or our decisions to go back and purchase or repurchase the same item from retail. So again, in the early 2000s, studies have found that $250 million is lost as a result of inferior tenderness in different steaks. So keeping this in mind, we followed the path of money in a beef industry and developed our program. So the applied part of the research we do on improving tenderness and color, we exclusively focus on hindquarters. Why hindquarter? It's again simple because a hindquarter, although it is lighter in terms of comparison to forequarter, it brings in more money because it has expensive cuts like a tenderloin, a loin, as well as other cuts. So almost all of our research projects, we focus on hindquarter muscles. Now, we also focus on basic chemistry of meat quality, and the research discipline known as proteomics is the focus in our lab. So what we are focusing on is on the right panel, how the proteins in meat affect the quality. On the left panel, the development of a beef animal and its genetics is well developed, and it is pretty much well known. But on the right panel, we don't know much about it. And this program is supported by heavily by USDA and National Institute of Food and Agriculture. So with the lessons learned in the US on beef processing, we're going to fly down to Southern Hemisphere in Brazil to learn and apply the knowledge. So when I talk to my collaborators, Dr. Renfro and others in the US, we're always talking about the black-hided cattle, which has a heavy influence of Angus. Now, down south of Ecuador, when I talk to my collaborators and colleagues in Brazil, they're talking about a completely different animals, Bos indicus cattle imported from India to improve their beef production. So they are quite a bit different from our typical cattle in the US. So the knowledge learned from US, we are applying in Brazil, and that's one of our other focus. So let's see what we have done so far on applied side and how we can translate that to improving meat quality. So one of the very first projects that Dr. Renfro and I got, we started together in 2006. So this was our first project. Kentucky Beef Council provided us this grant on improving the tenderness of bottom rounds using ginger extract. So bottom rounds is a huge muscle in terms of size as well as weight, and they're tough because they have a lot of connective tissue. So ginger, which is a rhizome, has a lot of proteases or enzymes that can break down the connective tissue. So what we attempted to do is something not completely changing the production or processing practice, but tweaking it. Almost all wholesale cuts coming in the US is these days enhanced with solutions. So we attempted to enhance the bottom round with the ginger extracts at 0.3% level. It's a very teeny level. And as I said, it is in water, so it doesn't have any flavor, or it doesn't have any kind of aroma. And we realized that when we applied this 0.3% level, it significantly improved the tenderness, both instrumental as well as a sensory. So one of the questions that people think is, oh, does it taste spicy? Not really. We did a sensory and there was no aroma and no spicy flavor, because the solution, we're using water to extract these proteases. So all these flavor compounds are not soluble in water. So this was one of the first projects that we did in Tenderness. And very recently, what we have done is we have evaluated the aging. Almost all beef, almost 90% of the beef in the US is aged by wet aging practice in a vacuum packaging. So we do not apply a specific kind of aging for different cuts. So for instance, strip loins, tenderloins, and the eye of the round, they're all aged in the same way for the same duration. So my recent graduate student, Mahesh Nair, he's now a professor in Colorado State University. His PhD work showed that to get the best effect of aging, strip loins can go up to 21 days. Tenderloin, we don't need to go beyond 7 days, whereas eye of the round, 14 days, period. So that means after 7 days, these tenderloins can go on for retail sale. Eye of the round, 14 days, but we can use the extra space to age more strip loins. So that's the optimal level of optimum duration for wet aging we have found. And another study, which is on a color, we found that today, right now in retailing, a lot of the cuts come in modified atmosphere packaging or in vacuum packaging these days. So what we have found is different muscles from a beef carcass, in this case, tenderloin and strip loin, they behave differently in packaging. So for instance, the high oxygen packaging, which is commonly used across the world, is good only for strip loins. It is bad for tenderloin. And tenderloins stay well in vacuum packaging, but not in high oxygen. The newer technology of carbon monoxide map is good for both, and it can be applied for both. So this one showed that no two muscles or no two cuts in retail beef are same. They have different behavior for aging as well as for packaging. So again, we recently studied another one on how do different muscles behave in terms of retail color stability after aging. So again, here, pretty much similar to what we have seen in terms of tenderness. Strip loins are pretty good when they are aged for 21 days. They can stay red. On the other hand, tenderloins are good for 7 days, and beyond that, there will be discoloration. And eye of the round can stay good in red color for 21 days for the aging. So what it says is, there is a different aging combination and retail display combination for the three muscles, which could be applied to improve the color stability and retailability as well as tenderness. And Another study that we have completed on the hindquarter muscle is on inside rounds. So inside round in a cross section of round is here. So this inside round is a sizable muscle which is having a superficial side and inside portion. So this outside portion is color stable. It will stay red like this. Now the inside one, we can see that it has a pale color. The reason why they are different in terms of color is they cool at different rates. So these portions on the outside will cool faster in a chiller. This one doesn't. So can we change this color variations by aging? So what we did in this one is we age the inside portion as well as outside portion for 21 days. And we found that this aging do not change or decrease the color variation. So we couldn't find a good way to age and make the color variations go away. Flying down to Brazil, when we go down to Brazil, we can see this white cattle or gray cattle imported from India to improve beef quality. So Brazilian beef has almoed 90% Bos indicus cattle influence, either purebred or crossbred. And their production practice is different because they are grass-fed compared to feedlot raised cattle here before feedlot finished cattle here. And another interesting thing is there is a significant proportion of bulls ending up in food chain in Brazilian beef production system. So in 2015, I got a fellowship from Brazilian government to go down and stay in Rio de Janeiro and collaborate with other universities to improve Brazilian beef color. And when we looked at the export market, one of the key things we noticed is Brazil exports to a lot of countries where stunning is not allowed due to religious slaughter restrictions. So how does this no stunning and harvest affect the color? That was one of the studies that we completed in Brazil. So this study found that when we harvest cattle with a no stunning, it leads to poor color stability. And also it increases rancidity compared to stunned cattle. So overall, no stunning can decrease the quality of color as well as the lipid stability in beef cattle. This is in Bos indicus cattle. We all know they have a temperament issue, so no stunning could compromise the color stability through that pathway also. So where do we stand with all the work we have done? So it's well known that production system affect beef quality traits through numerous mechanisms and pathways. A lot of genetics, a lot of environment, and a lot of cellular mechanisms and proteins. So my program focus primarily on this side of the look at how proteins affect quality and what are the changes happening. But a lot of these things are addressed. So what we did is probably 1/10 of what is affecting beef quality and the quality traits. So I'm fortunate to have outstanding colleagues like Dr. Renfro and Dr. Zhang. And, all this research we do here wouldn't happen without a lot of people, including my two wonderful colleagues, Greg and Yuling, and all the grad students, staff, collaborators, and the visiting professors came in from many places like the US, Brazil, South Africa, China, all the way down to Indonesia, India, and Korea, and our neighbors, North Canada. And things happen only when we have money, and appreciated the contribution of funding from USDA and Kentucky Beef Council as well as UK. And I would like to take questions now, or I'll wait until the end of everybody's slides to take questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suman. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Yep. And so I think we will take some questions now. If we have some, we can think about getting Paul transitioned over. He's going to speak next. But I actually had a question.
Sure.
I was curious on the slide that you showed on tenderness, and you showed the three different muscle cuts. Um, why do you think that? Yeah, there you go. So why would the eye of round need fewer days than the strip loins?
What I would say is the eye of the round, after 14 days, there is no use in keeping. So the best tenderness is reached at 14 days, so we don't have to go further.
Okay.
So we went up to 21 days and we don't see any more improvement after 14. But strip
Okay.
loins, the longer is better.
Right. Okay. So just would hate for people to kind of take the misperception then, and looking at this slide that the eye of the round would be as tender at 14 days as the strip loin at 21 days. That's not what that slide's saying.
Yeah, sorry. Each of these muscles have their own best tenderness.
Yep.
So eye of the round, 14 days is okay. After that, there is no more use in
Right.
keeping.
But it still would be significantly tougher than the strip loin.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify that for sure. So any other questions? Anybody, if you guys know the routine, looks like we have one coming here. Does the Brazil's beef production of harvesting Bos Indicus bulls affect the color and quality based on harvesting method?
Yes. So the regularly stunned cattle with a captive bolt has a better color stability and a lower level of lipid oxidation. Whereas animals harvested without stunning had a low color stability and increased lipid oxidation. We didn't test the tenderness. This was done from the retail standpoint, primarily from the retail color stability standpoint.
So just the impact of the bulls, Dr. Suman, what bulls versus steers and heifers? I know there are some quality issues. What about color? Is color similar between bulls and other sexes?
Well, obviously there is an influence of sex. Bulls, I haven't done any experiments, but the classical answer is bulls have more physical activity, so they have darker cuts compared to heifers and steers. So we
And
can
definitely the testosterone makes them leaner and not as much marbling typically.
so tenderness will have going down in bulls.
Right. I have another question here. Isn't tenderness more a connective tissue quality than a muscle quality?
It's both. What we have learned is the cellular mechanism for tenderizing these three muscles are different. In addition, there is difference in connective tissue. So there is a 50-50 contribution of connective tissue as well as the protein aspect.
Okay. Another question, and this one is, what future improvements and modifications do you see being made to our current handling and harvest methods to better improve meat quality?
Well, I haven't done much work on handling practices, so I'm not too much speculating into it because I haven't done much work. But
Right.
definitely, animal welfare has a strong influence on the quality of meat that is coming out from that animal. So more docile animals or handling them properly would give a better quality.
Right. So, and another big issue there is the dark cutters that we'll get if they're not handled properly ahead
Well,
of time.
yeah, absolutely. Darker does. That's a whole different story.
Yeah. one more, and then we'll move on. The last question we have here, and keep sending them in, guys, and we'll take them at the end. But the question is what is the Brazil's consumer preference regarding beef color? So another.
That is a very good question. And interestingly, Brazilian beef is not aged for 21 days as we do. It is aged probably for 7 days. And so it goes on well before it reaches the good color stability also. But there is the 95% of the beef coming into retail is this Bos Indicus beef. On the other hand, there is a premium brand that is 100% Angus or European breeds, but they're pretty expensive. Another interesting thing is a large share of Brazilian beef is packaged in vacuum, which we don't see a lot here for retail. So color, I would say, is probably less compared to what we have over here in terms of retailability.
Yep. Very interesting. All right. Thank you, Dr. Suman.